Hey everyone, welcome to the Permission to Hustle podcast. It's Audrey here. Thanks for tuning on in. Today's topic is all about being vulnerable. Are you vulnerable? Are you open to being vulnerable? Are you somebody that is comfortable really telling somebody what you're going through, what you need help with at the present moment? This topic came to me last night while I was driving home from New York City. I had a 3-hour car ride. For some reason, my radio in the car was not working. I don't know why. Something short-circuited, so I couldn't plug in my phone and listen to my podcast. And I couldn't listen to my podcast because I was using Waze, and I didn't want to drain my battery because I needed Waze over the podcast. So in all honesty, I had about 3 hours of silence in the car, which, to be honest with you, I'm not used to, especially having 5 kids, especially being someone that is a natural born communicator. Silence is not something that I'm used to, but it got me thinking, and it got me, I'm kind of just doing some brainstorming on my own on the way home. And I thought of this topic simply because of the event I was at last night. I spoke with actually Vera and also Renee Seiler on a panel last night that was hosted by She Speaks, and it was also hosted by Prudential Financial. And we talked about retirement, and we talked about our plans financially and really ways that we're saving and what we're doing right and potentially what we're doing wrong. And it was just a really good open discussion. And at the very end of the panel, we opened it up for a Q&A. And we had one woman stand up really at almost the end of the entire evening. And she asked us if we could share a time. And it really had nothing to do with the nuts and the bolts of financial, of saving and retirement. It had nothing to do with that. She looked at each of us and said, can you share with me? And she shared her personal story, which was her story. And I don't want to share what she said, but the question derived from her story. Can you tell me a time in your life when you've really had to just get nitty gritty and humble and really work hard? Like what, at a low point that you've had, how have you been able to get past that and move forward? And it was a question that really kind of made me go, this is something that women do not share enough with each other. This is a question that women need to be sharing with each other in business, in their personal life. You know, we all have that go-to best friend. I hope we all do, or your sister or your mother, but we all hopefully have that go-to person where they know intimate details about your life. And you know what? They love you anyway. You know who that person is in your life, right? And if you're lucky enough in life, you have a few people that are like that. But the question that this girl asked about really getting to the point in your life at some point where you just had to be real humble and you had to work extra hard. And you had to just say, you know what, financially right now, this is the best I can do. This is the job I need to take. This is whatever it is in life. This is what I need to do because I need to make money. And I loved the question because everybody in the audience was stone silent. And even us on the panel, it took us a minute to kind of embrace the question because women don't ask each other that. And it's probably one of the most beneficial, important questions that we should and we could be asking each other, and we don't. And you know, it was part of the reason why Vera and I even started 2 years ago, Permission to Hustle, because there weren't enough women giving each other the permission to hustle, to go out there, to work hard, to have to just say, you know what? Yeah, I don't have any other financial piece coming at me. So I got to go out and I have to make it rain for myself. I have to hustle to get work. I need to hustle to be successful. I don't have an elevator ride to the top. I don't have an easy way to get to the top. I got to climb it. I got to reach branch by branch, sweat it out. There's going to be times I have to stop and I'm going to cry and I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to be scared, but I got to keep going. That is why we started Permission to Hustle. And when this girl asked that question, you know, I said that very answer. And I also said, because a lot of the times we don't share with each other our lowest moments, the times in our life where we really needed to stop and say, I just got to do this. There's really no other way. There's no other option. There's no other plan. This is it. And I had said to her, you know what? Yeah, a low point for me personally was about 7 years ago when I had 4 little boys at the time. And my husband had cancer. We actually went to the doctor. We thought he had appendicitis. He was doubled over in pain one night. And he was saying, you know, my stomach. We thought maybe his appendix burst. Rushed him to the hospital. And after CAT scans and x-rays and MRIs, they realized that it was a tumor. and they had to get the tumor out. It was maybe at that point they thought maybe like a baseball sized tumor in his abdomen. And he had to have emergency surgery that night. Life started to go kind of in fast forward motion. And the pain was from the tumor was so big, it actually had perforated a hole in his colon. And that was why he had this sudden, he couldn't even stand up, pain. And he had surgery, and he had to go on a chemo pill for 5 years. And in that time, in that moment, my husband, he actually was a stay-at-home dad at that time in our lives. I guess we were lucky at that time he was, because we weren't depending on his paycheck. But I was just beginning my business, and we were just beginning the whole, listen, I think this blogging thing might be a great way for us to create a family business out of it. But I mean, if you stop and think about it, 7.5, 8 years ago, that really wasn't a big, it was not nearly as mainstream as it is now. Let me just put it out there like that. There weren't that many success stories before me that I could look at and say, well, she's doing it, and it's possible to do that. Oh, and look at, I could sell $10,000 a day on reward style. No, 8 years ago, there weren't stories like that. It's a lot different today than it was a long time ago when we all started. But I remember just saying, okay, crap. I have to do this. I need to do this. I need to be strong for my family. I need to be happy for my kids. I'm dying inside. I'm scared inside. I'm terrified inside. But I got to somehow make this work because I need to support my family. And there's something about needing survival. Maybe it is having survival on your shoulders. But talk about stress. Talk about feeling like I don't even know what else to do. And sometimes those are the moments that you look back at now. And when you're in it, let's face it, when you are in the trenches of going through something, you are in the trenches of going through something. You don't look right. You don't look left. You don't look up. You don't look down. You look just laser focused on whatever it is. And that for me, in that moment, in that time, was a really just difficult low point, because I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I knew I needed to make money. I knew I needed to be able to support my family. I knew that I needed to be strong for my husband. I knew I needed to be strong for my children. I knew I needed to be happy for everybody. I knew I needed to put a certain persona online so that people wouldn't think that I couldn't do work. I remember that time being a really difficult time. And I knew that, especially with what my husband was going through, it wasn't like it was going to be over in a week. I knew that he wasn't just like sick in the hospital for a week. I knew that this was something that was going to be impactful on our family. And so when that woman asked that question, that was my answer. And it brought me right back there. And I said to her, the one thing about life for everybody is that we all have low moments. We all have scary and terrifying moments that help define us. And those are the moments that we are the most vulnerable. And those are the moments that we probably need people the most to reach out to talk to have somebody just say to us, I hear you. I'm sorry. What can I do? Maybe it's just a hug. Maybe it's just a quick little phone call to check in or a text. But being vulnerable is something that is not comfortable for people. Let's be honest. It's not something that people necessarily love to be. But when I sat there last night and I really kind of digested her question, and I saw all of us answer on the panel differently, and there were tears and there were smiles, and it was a silent room as we all answered. And you know what? I would be hard-pressed to find one person in this world who has had an elevator ride to the top without one setback. And as we all climb that tree, branch to branch to branch, it's tough. There are times we stop and we cry. And there are times that we have setbacks and we go down a few branches on that tree. But we're all trying to climb to the top. And whatever is at the top for us, whatever that goal is at the top that we're trying to reach, we all have these low moments where we are vulnerable. And when I was driving home last night, I thought about that. I said, you know what? It's the one thing that we don't share enough as women. It's the one thing that we don't genuinely stop and say, here's what I'm going through in this moment. And I just really need help. I just need someone to tell me I'm not alone. And maybe that's all you need to hear in that moment, is that you're not alone. But whatever it is, I want to encourage you, and the reason I wanted to do this podcast was, are you someone that's open to being vulnerable? And if you're not, it's okay. There's no right or wrong answer to this. Because if you're not comfortable being vulnerable, please be comfortable to somebody being vulnerable to you. Receive it. Open yourself up to it. Last night when I saw that woman, Ask that question, and all of us give the answer. And she, in that moment, like, she just wanted to know, what did you do? At what moment have you been like this? Because she just wanted to know that she wasn't alone. And nobody ever is alone. And that's the beauty within being open and honest and real and raw. What we put out on social media usually is a really good version of ourselves, especially those of us who do it for a job. I mean, I'm not going to put out stuff that's going to make me look bad, because it's like, you think about this. If you work in corporate America, you go to meetings very professional. You don't go to meetings dressed like you're going to a football game. You don't walk into a meeting with like ripped jeans and, in a baseball cap backwards. You walk in a suit, or you walk in a beautiful dress. You walk in with the best, most confident, professional version of you. My son's teachers, I expect them to be professional. I don't want them swearing to my kids. They most likely swear when they're not in class. I mean, that is what I mean. We all put on a professional persona for whatever we do, and we should. And for those of us that work on social media and our lives are out there, I mean, all of us now, regardless of what you do, you most likely have a Facebook, an Instagram, a Pinterest, a YouTube, a blog. You probably have something, a LinkedIn, and you're putting stuff out there that's professional. So I understand you're not going to put something out that's really vulnerable about you, because people are going to read it, and you don't want the wrong people to read it. You don't want it to impact your job, your life, your livelihood. But when I saw that woman last night ask that, I thought to myself, this is why we created Permission to Hustle, because not enough women are vulnerable. Not enough women are saying, I'm really stuck right now. I really don't know what to do. I really need help. And there's power in that. There's power in being able to be comfortable enough to put that out there. And that's what I want to encourage you guys today with this podcast, is when you're feeling that, know that you're not alone. Everybody feels that way. And know that it's okay to share that. Find a safe space. Obviously, you don't feel comfortable going to Permission to Hustle and just putting it out there to people that you don't know. But find a safe place. And if someone comes to you with that vulnerability, be open to it. Be open to receiving it. Sometimes you just got to listen. Sometimes that's all you can do. But allow these moments to inspire and motivate you to move on. I've often said, as I'm getting older, I've often said, that Oprah is somebody that has always inspired me and always motivated me, inspired me. Her quotes, they're all over my office. But the older I get, to be honest with you, the more I'm finding myself more inspired and more motivated by women who are not famous, by women who are not in the limelight, by women who are not millionaires. They are women doing it every single day. They don't need to be snarky on Facebook with other women. They don't need to tear women down. They don't need to use social media as a vehicle, as a soapbox. They're the ones that are just doing it. They're creating and crafting their businesses, and they're growing, and they're doing everything that they can in their power to get further and further and further to their goals and to their dreams. And those are the women now that I'm finding are just inspiring me the most. They're the women like me. I'm identifying myself with those women. And I love that. I love that I'm finding these connections as an adult woman. And it's something that I really want to teach my nieces and my sons and my nephews and my daughter, is that those people, the ones that are just like you, that are doing it, let those people inspire you. It's always good to have the people to look at that are the famous people and are out there on the stages and are doing what they do, because they're always going to motivate. They're always going to inspire. But you're never going to know them. You're never going to know the real them. You're going to know the real people in your life. And those are the people, those vulnerabilities, and those people, the ones that are always going to spark that motivation and that inspiration, because you really do start to realize you're not alone. You see other people doing it every single day. So I really want this podcast to be for you today, and I hope it is, because I'm telling you, when I was driving home last night, I couldn't write. I was driving, but I just kept thinking, I want to do a podcast about this, because that question was so powerful, and I love that she asked it. I thought it was so great. And I didn't want to forget that. So I woke up this morning and I ran to my phone after I dropped the kids off. And I said, let me film this podcast quick before I forget this. And that's why I wanted to put it out there. So as always, guys, thanks for listening. We have our Permission to Hustle Facebook group. I am nasal. I am sorry. As I'm talking, I'm noticing how nasal I sound, but it's April. There's allergies. It is what it is. We're also on Instagram, Permission to Hustle, but we'd love for you to join our Facebook group. Every day we pop new stuff in there. We ask questions. We want you to connect with other people too. We really hope that is motivating and inspiring within itself too. And just keep doing what you do. We started this group because we wanted women to give themselves permission to hustle. And when we say that, we mean you are hustling towards a job. You are working hard. You are passionate. You are head down. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And that's why we started this, because we wanted other women to know that you're not alone. And we wanted to only attract the women that got that. And so we hope that you join the group. We'd love you to. Please listen to our other podcasts. We have, over 50 of them already in the queue. And as always, thanks for listening. Have an awesome day, everybody. And we'll see everybody later.